Today on What It's Like, it's discussion episode Friday, 10 things not found in modern cars. Number 1, analog driving experience. This is a positive as well as a negative. And what I mean by analog is the computer dictates everything that goes on with the car, as well as we can even throw in electric windows, electric power locks, everything. I mean, don't get me wrong, sometimes electric windows are great until you have to replace a motor, and depending on what it is, it could be a very expensive experience. And I'm not saying that roll-up windows or crank-style windows are perfect. I've had an instance where the window actually came off the track, and when I shut the door, the window blew into a million pieces, and then I had to replace the window. But yeah, so we don't live in a perfect world, but getting back to the analog experience, I hate traction control. I think it is the stupidest thing ever conjured up. For those that don't know what traction control, when it feels slippage, wheel slippage, it cuts power to the wheels. But sometimes you need wheel slippage. Say like you're stuck in a ditch and traction control is on. It's impossible to rock the car out of the ditch. What is rocking the car? That is putting it in drive and then slamming it into reverse and then putting it in drive and then slamming it into reverse to try to rock it out of the hole. That is impossible to do with traction control. Jay, just turn traction control off. Well, some cars you can't. It's physically impossible for you to turn traction control off. For instance, I have two cars that it's impossible to turn traction control off. One's a 2006 Honda Odyssey van, the other one's a 2009 Toyota Prius. If either one of those cars gets stuck, that's it. Your day is gone. You got to call AAA, and sometimes it takes them all day to get to you, depending on where you're at and how many calls are ahead of you. All right, moving on to number 2, bench seats. Auto companies, if you're listening, not every car needs to have sport seats. It's a fad that needs to die. Bench seats were cool because if you had a girlfriend, they could sit closer to you, and it makes it for a great date night at the drive-in movies. Or you could sit 3 across, and some bench seats were very comfortable. Actually, let me modify that statement. Bench seats were made comfortable. They were more comfortable than sports seats. I had a Lincoln Town Car, an 88 Lincoln. It had a pillow side. It wasn't really technically a bench seat, but I guess it could have been a bench seat. Most comfortable seat I've ever owned. And then eventually I owned an 89 Lincoln Town Car with leather pillow side seats. By far the most comfortable seat I've ever owned. They need to bring that back. Number 3, spare tires. Back in the day, cars had as many spare tires as what came on the car. And over time, fewer and fewer. Now it's called, I'm using air quotes, you can't see me, weight savings. But get this, they will sell you a tire kit that comes with an air compressor, a jack, maybe an inflatable tire, but they won't sell you an actual full-size spare anymore. The world we live in. Number 4, basic keys. Up until the mid-'80s, when GM started putting chips in keys, some other car companies didn't follow suit until the late 90s, maybe even the early 2000s. Anyway, the thought process was to combat car theft of hot wiring cars, but trust me, if they want your vehicle bad enough, they will get it. Cars are still getting repoed, aren't they? And for those that don't know, there's GPS tracking systems in cars, so they know exactly where the car is, and they'll just get it. Keys that don't have chips in them. Anybody can go to a hardware store, even Walmart, and get a copy made for less than $2. It used to be less than $1, but everything costs more now. A new car key can cost anywhere between $50 to $600, which is absolutely insane. Number 5, manual transmission. And I know there's still a handful of cars out there that still offer a manual transmission, but are they fully manual? With rev matching and rev limiting, it takes away from the driving experience, and there isn't a skill level involved anymore, which is super sad. Number 6, drip rails. This one might sound stupid to a lot of people, or one might not know what a drip rail is. A drip rail is a small rain-like gutter at the top of the roof, at the roof's edge, and it's just like rain gutters on a roof of a house. It moves the water to the sides, allowing the windows of the car to be open while it's sprinkling. Now, mileage may vary. Obviously, you don't want to have the windows fully down when it's monsooning. You will get wet. If you park your car outside and it's covered in dew and the dew turns into water droplets, the water droplets will get collected in the drip rails or tiny rain gutters and it won't come into the interior of the car. Awesome feature they just don't put on cars anymore. Number 7, actual gauges. I grow tired of looking at screens all the time. Do you concur? Take a look at this interior. This is from a 1967 Oldsmobile Toronado. In my opinion, one of the best binnacle instrument clusters of all time. Just imagine looking at that every day, not a screen. Number 8, vent windows. According to Google, last vehicles in America to sport these were in 1996. They included, but not limited to, the Ford F-150, Ford Bronco, Dodge Ram van, Chevy G Classic van. By 1997, those companies phased out the vent windows in favor of a one-piece window design for the only reason that I can think of, simplicity. Number 9 is by far what I miss the most, the cowl vent and or floor ventilation. This is my favorite feature not found on new cars. Cowl vent was relocated in the mid-50s from the top of the hood to side doors. Now, granted, they did offer other cars like the Packard. 30s Packard had both. They had a cowl vent and side doors for ventilation. For those unfamiliar with a cowl vent, it is a scoop that pops up from the hood, allows outside air to circulate at your feet. Old cars, most of them don't have insulation between the firewall, and on hot days, it gets really hot in there. So if you can have air coming down from above or the sides, it helps out drastically. Real quick story, I got to work at John Kuefleitner's over the summertime, and I got to drive a 1940 Ford. My boss asked me to go take it for a test drive. So me and Zach went down the road in the 40 Ford. And as we're driving down the road, it's about 85, 90 degrees that day. There was a lot of heat coming off the firewall, and I told Zach, I was like, it's getting hot in here, isn't it? And he's like, yeah, we got all the windows down, though. And I was like, watch this. Opened up the cowl vent, and he just couldn't believe how much air that brought down at our feet and cooled our feet off to the point that it was like driving normal. It was really comfortable in there. Those old cars don't need air conditioning because they have those vents. Number 10. Build quality and quality of materials. So I've compared new cars to appliances, and this is what I mean by it. I'm going to totally explain it. If you need a computer to figure out a problem, that is an appliance. A machine is something that when it breaks, you know what it is. You don't need a computer to tell you what is wrong with it. And a lot of times it can be fixed. Old cars are machines because they were built to run, and they were built to last, and they were built to break. And when they break, you can fix them. A lot of these new cars, when they break, it's cheaper to just buy a new one. They're like throwaways. But I will add, new cars are a lot safer than old ones because of the whole crumple zone thing, but they're just not made of good quality stuff. Like the Prius. In the episode of the Prius, a lot of times when I open up the door, it feels like the door handle is going to break off in my hand. I don't have that problem in the 52 Chevy. All right, now it's time for Name That Tune. First person to give me the correct name of the band as well as song title. First person to do both correctly will have their comment pinned to the top of the comment section. Thank you all so much for coming out and watching this. If you'd like to get in touch with me, shoot me a comment in the comment section below or check out our Facebook group that correlates with this YouTube channel. If you don't have Facebook and would like to talk to me one-on-one, shoot me an email. All of that will be linked in the description. Here are some scenes for our next episode. Airing tomorrow, Saturday, 4:30 Eastern Standard Time, 1952, Plymouth Belvedere. That's what's next on What It's Like. Hope to see you then. And until then, toodaloo! See you later, alligator!